Welcome to the audiobook Elites of Vanderbilt High, written by Klenan Dzorkpe, narrated by Lillian. Chapter 1. 2 years ago. Chapter 1. I walked into Vanderbilt Elites High. The hem of my plaid skirt swishes behind my thighs. My heel boots click on the spotlessly clean floor with every step I take as I hurry inside. The school's high walls and antique designs give it an ancient, royal building kind of vibe. The rising sun casts shadows around it, as if it was a haunted building. The statues of gargoyles in front of the gates weren't helping the situation either. I clutched my bag straps tighter and moved quickly into my new school. Uncle said Mr. Vanderbilt had decided to sponsor my education in his school. The school only the super rich could afford. Every year, 5 students are granted scholarship into this prestigious school, and my uncle had managed to persuade his boss to grant me a scholarship. I was really grateful. I was planning on signing up for cheerleading. I always had a thing for dance, but there was no dance team in Vanderbilt Elites High, so cheerleading it is. I hurry inside. I had come early to campus in order to unpack my books into my locker and find my classrooms before other students arrived. My locker was closer to the gym, according to the map given to me. The school even had a map. It must be really prestigious then. I found my locker easily, but after several failed attempts to open it, I groaned and kicked it over and over again. Seriously? Come on! I literally screamed at the locker. I was beginning to get frustrated. I heard a loud guffaw behind me and quickly turned around. My face a dusty shade of pink. A blonde guy leaned on a locker in the school's basketball jersey. He must be part of the basketball team and definitely popular. He also looked very familiar. Just let the popular kid know what a weirdo you are. The perfect way to start your high school social life. Ugh, I groaned. You must be a freshman, he said, smiling at me. Okay, a killer smile as well. Yeah, sorry, I didn't know anyone was here, I said, rubbing my neck, my blush increasing. The lockers have 1, 2, 3, 4 as their default code. You can change it later, he said, walking towards me with his killer smile and inputting the code to which it opened. Oh, thanks, I said, dropping my books inside with a grateful sigh. Dylan, best player of the basketball team at your service, miss? He asked, with a wink and a mock bow. I couldn't help but laugh. Ella, that should explain why you look familiar, I replied. I must have seen him at games. A beautiful name for a beautiful girl, he said, trapping me between his arms and the lockers. What the? Dylan Knight, a loud voice said, making the both of us jump, my hand clutching my racing heart. Coach, Dylan said, looking back at the coach who was glaring at us. Wait, not us. Me. What did I do? Gym, now, he said, giving Dylan a tired look. See you in chemistry. Dylan gave me a wide grin and walked away. How did he know my next class was chemistry? I turned to continue packing and saw my timetable on my books. Oh. I sat at the back of class as students filled into the classroom with designer bags and shoes and everything on them screaming money. I was already starting to feel out of place with my thrift bag and shoe. Ellie, didn't you save a seat for me? I heard Dylan's voice beside me and turned. You didn't ask me to, I replied. Why would someone on the basketball team want to sit with a newbie with no friends in an elite school? You don't want me to sit with you? He feigned being hurt. What? No, of course not, I replied. He turned to the blonde girl sitting beside me, scrolling through Instagram. Hey, Lexi, you heard the beauty? Scram. The girl stood up and gave me a bone-chilling glare before moving away to another seat, flipping her hair in front of Dylan. I didn't even do anything to her. Shouldn't she be glaring at Dylan? The latter plumped into the seat, placing his feet clad in a Nike Air Force on the desk. Never seen you in Vanderbilt Junior High. Yeah. Okay, so which school are you from? He asks. Here comes trouble. The thing about my previous school, Hughbury High and St. Vanderbilt High, was that we were arch enemies when it came to sports. So coming here was like suicide. My social life is going to be ruined once anyone finds out. I'll have no friends. This should be kept a secret. No one could find out. Not yet. I'll have to lie. Another Hughbury fucking High. A deep, venomous voice spat out. A voice I knew too well. Fucking Kevin Vanderbilt. You guessed it right. His family owns the school, and his grandfather is the chief director. My uncle works for his dad as a personal secretary. My arch enemy. I hate Kevin. Freaking arrogant bastard. He had also made it known to me that the feeling was mutual whenever we met. I hated how everyone idolized him like he was some god. Everyone's golden boy. I didn't dare turn to look at the devil's spawn. I just gritted my teeth and glared at the desk, too scared to even turn back. That jerk was always out for my blood. You know this chick? Dylan asked curiously. One of the house helps. Works at the mansion, he said with a shrug. My eyes flashed bloody murder, anger rising in me. No matter how angry I was, though, I didn't get up or try to call it a lie. Although I literally didn't work as a house help, I used to go to the mansion with my uncle and helped the chef, Mira. We usually just baked while she talked to me and asked what I was up to and how I was doing. She was the mother figure in my life, but because of Kevin, I even stopped going to the mansion. I was actually terrified of him. Throughout my whole life since I could remember, Kevin has made it a point to torment my life. I've learned over the years not to talk back at him, since it always results in my doom. Kevin's words is law here. I learned that the hard way. The whole room was silent. I could feel everyone's hateful stare on me. She's one of your dad's charity cases, isn't she? A cold female voice asked from the front of the classroom. I guess. Kevin replied and strode out of the class like he hadn't just sealed my fate. I looked up to see the unwelcoming faces of my new classmates and gulped. The girl who asked the question stood up and walked towards me, with an ugly sneer on her made-up face. She had strawberry blonde hair and a hot, smoking body. I knew her type. She's going to be among the top of the hierarchy. I didn't want to be prejudiced, but she was already showing it. She reached my desk. Everyone's eyes on us. Ellen, or whatever you call yourself. Valerie Queen, an authoritative voice called out. The whole class turned towards the front of the class. It will be nice if you could return to your seat so we can start the class. Thank goodness the teacher is in. The teacher stood at his desk. He must be in his early 50s. He and Valerie went into a staring competition before she scoffed and matched back to her sit, her heels clicking the floor. I couldn't handle this girl right now after just realizing Kevin had sentenced me to doom in my 3 years stay. I gave the teacher a grateful smile, and he smiled back. He must have known what was going on. God bless his soul. I'm Mr. Quist, and I'll be taking you through chemistry this year. Open chapter 1 in your textbook, he said to the class. I turned to pick out my book, but found Dylan staring at me curiously. Interesting, he smirked. I ignored him. Pushing Kevin to the back of my mind, I concentrated on the class, or at least for a moment, before his voice kept tormenting my brain. Before I knew it, the class was over, and I've learned nothing new. I cursed Kevin internally. My first class has already been a disaster, thanks to him. Why couldn't he pretend we didn't know each other, always being such a thorn in my life? I picked my bag and got out of the classroom, only to be met by the girl from earlier, Valerie and another girl, probably her friend. Listen to me, bitch, she started. Another time? I dismissed and walked past her. I had other urgent matters. I was not in the mood. Her friend grabbed my hair all of a sudden and pulled me back, slamming me against the locker. My head bouncing against the locker and tears stung my eyes with the impact. Ouch! I refused to let them fall and growled at her. When Queen and I talk to you, listen, Charity, her friend sneered in my face. Raina, don't bother touching her. You don't know what disease this kind of people have. This brat, what was she trying to insinuate? Valerie, the tryouts are starting, someone said from the corner. The girl who Dylan sacked from beside me stood there, a hand on her hip and her eyes still stuck on her phone. What do you care, slut? And it's Queen to you. Care? She rolled her eyes. I'm just in a hurry to see you fail it. Know your place, bitch. She did that perfect hair flip and strolled off. Let's go, Raina. I'm going to teach that imbecile a lesson. She forgot all about me and marched off. Luckily, I didn't meet anyone from chemistry again, and all I had were stares, pointing fingers, and snickers as I finished the day and head home. I went home, and when I saw home, I mean the Vanderbilt mansion. I didn't stay in the main house, but there was a one-story building behind that my uncle and I occupied. Uncle, I'm home, I announced, although I know he's probably in the mansion or at work. Being the personal assistant of Mr. Vanderbilt made him as busy as Mr. Vanderbilt, if not more. Going into the kitchen, I dropped my bag on the island, fetched a glass of water, and began drinking when the front door opened and Uncle strolled in. Uncle, I called, and run to him, giving him a hug. I was surprised he had returned early. He usually didn't return that same day or came back when I was asleep. How was your first day, princess? He asked, stroking my hair. Ever since Mom and Dad died in a fire that burnt down our house 10 years ago, Uncle Alex had took me in. I was told I forgot the memories because of the trauma and how young I was. Since then, Uncle had took me in and has been my only parent. Great, I lied. I didn't want there to be any bad mood because he was scarcely home and I didn't want to ruin the little time I had with him. Have you closed from work? I asked eagerly, but when he looked away guiltily, I knew he wasn't going to stay. It's okay. He was making money for our survival. I got used to it after 10 years of living with him. I actually just came for some files I'd forgotten about, but I'll be taking you out tomorrow, so don't be sad. Don't worry, it's okay. I smiled brightly at him. Chapter 2. Present Day. I was currently contemplating whether to take the bus or wait for my uncle to pick me up. I was running late on my first day of senior year. My car's tires were currently slashed, my mirrors broken. The seats were stained with broken eggs, and a medal was used to write "Go die, slut" boldly on the 4 sides of the car. I had a good idea who the culprit was, considering the fact that Kevin threw his 19th birthday party yesternight. Might be someone from school. I knew it wasn't Kevin, since he was too high and mighty to do it himself. He might have ordered some minions of his to do the dirty work, probably the cheer squad. Since that first day that he had declared me an outcast freshman year, he had never talked to me again. We will just glare at each other from afar until I gave in and look away. I could never match that intense, chilling dark eyes that was specifically reserved for me. The snide comments, public humiliation, false rumors, and locker thrashings were left to his minions. I never ever went to the main house on no account for fear that I may meet him. Who knows what that psycho was capable of? I felt my phone vibrate in my pocket and took it out. Uncle. Sorry, princess. Something urgent just came up at work. I can't come to pick you up. Can you ask Kevin to come pick you up or take a bus? I'll have the mechanic come to check your car later. Me. Sure, I'll do just that. My uncle didn't know that Kevin and I were far from friends. I didn't want to tell him about the bullying and all that because he was working for his dad after all. I can't afford to jeopardize our source of income by antagonizing Kevin in his eyes. I hadn't told him my car was thrashed. I'd only told him that I'd gotten a puncture, and it wasn't starting. I'll find some way to pay the mechanic the extra cost for spraying, buying new tires, and all that. For now, the bus it is. Because this was a rich neighborhood, the bus scarcely passed here. I had to walk all the way to the junction in hopes of catching it. Scarcely had I taken a few steps out of the mansion before a black Bugatti Chiron came to a screeching halt in front of me. Kevin. Leave it to the asshole jerk to drive a fast French car.
Get in.
His deep, hoarse voice said smoothly, giving me goosebumps. He was wearing the school uniform with the tie hanging loosely, the shirt hugging his muscles like a second skin. His collar was up, and his hair was looking like he had just rolled out of bed. He was hot, for sure. Stop checking out the enemy, I internally chastised myself.
See something you like?
He taunted. Damn it. He caught me checking him out. I could feel the heat coursing up my cheeks. Don't you dare blush, Ella. No. In fact, I was thinking of what bleach to use to wash the disgusting image out of my eyes.
Sure, you were. I totally believe you,
he said sarcastically. He was acting too calm. I expected him to run me over with the car for saying something like that to his face.
Are you getting in or not? I don't have time for games with you, young lady,
he growled at me. I halted immediately. Young lady? Just because he turned 19 recently doesn't give him the audacity. I would be turning 18 in the next 7 months. How dare him? I crossed my arms and turned back to give him a piece of my mind, but the chilly, dark eyes that met mine shut me up. I would be in my best interest if I don't provoke him. I nearly forgot how terrifying he could be. I'll catch the bus. Thank you for the offer, Kevin, I said with my head bowed and turned to leave.
Drop the act. You're faking reeks. And don't say my name.
Don't talk back, Ella. He's provoking you intentionally. He wants an excuse to run you over with his car or hurt you somehow. There's no way in hell I'm getting into that car with him. I don't want to be a bother. I'll take the bus. I recharged my patience internally and said,
Good idea. You're pretty smart even though you don't look like it,
he said. What? Is that a compliment or an insult? Well, it's coming from Kevin. How can I think of it as a compliment? Definitely an insult. I glared at him but kept quiet.
I guess I'll just tell Alex you were already gone. Didn't see you. I'll be sure to ask the bus driver to pick you up when I meet him, he tisked.
Uncle asked him to pick me up? And what did he mean by the last sentence? Before I could ask him anything, his car sped off, leaving me behind. Kevin had already wasted precious minutes of my time. I quickly started jogging to the junction. It was not far away. I saw the bus coming from afar and waved it down, panting and wiping off the beads of sweat that had begun to form on my forehead. I was in bad shape. I made a mental note to hit the gym later. The bus stopped in front of me, and I made a move to get inside before the driver stopped me with his words.
Oh, you must be Ella,
he said, smiling widely with a wink. He knew me? Yes?
Oh, your boyfriend just met me up the hill.
Boyfriend?
He said he wants to sort things out with you, so he'll pick you up. He's really kind and generous. He even gave me a generous tip. He's a keeper, dear. Go sort out your differences.
He smiled and winked at me again before driving off. What the hell? Kevin, this must be what he meant by the driver picking me up. Kevin Vanderbilt, damn you! I cursed out loud. That punk! The next bus would be hours away. I couldn't afford the wait and be late on the first day. I started walking. Maybe I can get a cab if I keep walking. A car was approaching from behind. A red Porsche. Maybe I should ask for a ride. I don't have much of a choice. The car approached me. Wait a minute. Isn't that Lexi? Lexi was never really mean to me, although she was the head cheerleader, and the cheerleaders were really out for my blood. They never let me live down the humiliation of brutally disqualifying me for cheer tryouts during my first year. Lexi just had this standoffish behavior and a permanent straight face. Lexi, can I get... I waved her down, but she just drove past me. Ouch.
What were you expecting, Ella? Of course she doesn't want to be seen arriving at school with you.
We're not in the same clique, I chided myself. I sighed and continued the journey. It's going to be a long walk. I kept walking till I turned the corner. Is that... Get in. I just stood there gawking. Looks like you don't need a ride after all. The engine revved. Wait, I do. I quickly entered the car. Thanks, Lexi. Chapter 3. Daisy and Flashes. The ride to campus was silent. When we got to campus, Lexi just spat a get out, locked her door, and went inside the building. Geez, cold much? Anyway, I was grateful. I'd have still been on the road if it wasn't for her. Miss Owens, I heard an authoritative voice and turned. Mrs. Masco, the mathematics teacher, stood there with a frown on her face. Let's just say I wasn't a grade A mathematics student. Are you planning on ditching? Her eyebrows furrowed more and her lips thinned. What? No, I just arrived, I defended. Oh, so you're late. You have detention after school, she said, and walked off. Oh, come on, this is the first day. I heard giggles and turned to see some members of the cheer squad. They had smirks on the faces and were giggling. They must have tipped her off. Those bitches! I gave them the middle finger and went inside. This is senior year. I don't have to take any of their bullshit. I'm not going to be trampled upon like some useless person. I'm a human being with equal rights. Maybe it's because I've been silently enduring all their little pranks. That's why they keep doing it. Oh well, some things are about to change. You're late. Detention after school, the teacher said when I entered the room. I didn't even bother to tell him I had detention after school already. Why let him make it another day when I can serve for 2 punishments at once? Okay, I agreed and went to find a sit. The only seat available was beside Dylan. I moved to sit beside him when my eyes met Kevin's, dark, chilling ones daring me to do exactly that. He was sitting directly in front of Dylan, with Lexi beside him. I gulped. Dylan was really nice to me. Although we weren't good friends, he was cool and fun to be with. Just that we don't have much moments together, since he moves with Kevin and their other friend, Easton, all the time. So, me getting to sit with him would make the class more pleasant for me. Kevin was probably bitter because of that. Dylan and Kevin were close friends, so it was quite surprising I had such a good relationship with him. I felt happy and comfortable with the arch-enemy's friend. I even liked Dylan. I averted my eyes and moved forward only to be tripped by Raina's foot in the way. That bitch. I didn't even see her there. I was too busy being caught up in Kevin's suffocating gaze. Squealing, I went tumbling down and reached to grab onto the nearest desk, which was Kevin's, but ended up missing it and falling face first into his broad chest. His sandalwood scent and woodsy cologne filled my nostrils, making me drunk and dizzy with it. His muscles rippled beneath my upper body. I've never been this close to him. Can the ground swallow me? My cheeks were becoming heated. When did it get so hot in here? I scrambled to get up, but slipped and hit my face against his crotch. My forehead hit his belt buckle, causing pain to rock my head. I groaned. Something twitched against my lips. Oh God, was that his? I reeled back so fast and fell down, my butt slamming hard against the floor, where I was supposed to fall at first. The class erupted in snickers and loud laughter as I covered my now burning cheeks with my palm and hurried to my seat beside Dylan. Kevin glared at me with a feral look. I could see the raw hunger in his eyes. I didn't know whether he wanted to murder me right there or take his time to skin me alive slowly. Nice one there, Daisy, Dylan teased when I sat beside him. Daisy? Wait a minute, I was wearing boy shorts with daisies on it. Did I flash him when I fell? What the hell? Oh, Raina, you just made yourself number 1 on my list. Payback is coming. You'd better watch out.
It took the teacher several minutes to quiet down the class, who were busy making jokes at taking jabs at me. Now, if the class clown is done giving the class a show, I'll like to continue with the lesson, the teacher said, his distaste for me coming out with every word like venom. There goes any hope of giving off a good first impression. As I was saying before I was rudely interrupted, he fixed his glare on me. We would be doing the project in groups of 2. Let's continue with the pairing, shall we? He asked, picking up the register and mentioning names, Nicole Hamill and Easton King. You would be taking Chapter 14 of the textbook. Raina Oswald and Violet Truell. You have Chapter 15. The list went on, and I was beginning to get anxious. My name had not been mentioned, and Kevin's name had also not been mentioned. This shouldn't be what I think it is, else I don't know how I was going to survive this. Soon everyone's name had been mentioned, and I still hadn't been paired. Neither had Kevin. And our last team, Ella Owens, you're paired with, I held my breath, Dylan Knight. Oh, I left out my breath with a sigh. Relax, Daisy. You're with me. You can ease up on that pencil now, Dylan whispered in my ears, his hot breath tickling the shell of my ear. Goosebumps sprang on my arms and I pushed him away. How did he know what I was thinking? Was I that obvious? I had just been so focused on not getting Kevin as a partner. I had not noticed Dylan's name was not mentioned either. Paranoid much? I looked at the pencil with a clenched fist around it and released it. I turned to Dylan. What's the work on? Poetry. Hamlet. This should be interesting, he said, looking forward. I followed his gaze to meet Kevin's glare on us. I quickly averted my eyes, remembering how good he felt beneath me just a few minutes ago. The memory sent a rush of heat to my cheeks. My cheeks felt like they were on fire. Was I ever going to get rid of it? Ugh! Dylan chuckled at my flustered self. You're really cute when blushing, he said, whilst pinching my cheeks. I swatted his hands away like an annoying fly. Geez, he could be so annoying. Let's start the work, I said, whilst opening the textbook in front of us and giving him a glare. Ooh, I like it when my girls are bossy, he cooed teasingly. Did he want to die? Before I knew it, the bell had rang, and we were nowhere near done, all because Dylan kept flirting and teasing me. I was as red as a tomato by now. I stood up and began packing to leave. Come over to my house, and let's continue the work, he said with mischief in his eyes. Definitely not. We can use the library, I suggested. He scoffed. Come to my party on Friday night. No, I was definitely not falling for that. We both knew he would abandon me once I got there, and I'll be left alone, considering I had no other friends. Something bad would surely happen to me. Dylan's parties weren't famous for nothing. I heard stories the Monday after at school. Something always happens, and I wasn't ready to be the next victim to these bloody, thirsty elites. No way. Why? He asked stubbornly with a pout. We both know why, I countered, and turned to leave before slamming into someone. Strong arms held me around the waist as I lost my balance and almost fell. It seems you have a fetish for falling into my arms, kitten. The deep, smooth voice I knew too well called out. Let go of me, Kevin. I pulled back. I said, don't say my name, he growled, his arm still firmly holding me flushed against him. Pressed against his hard chest. I gulped at the fierceness of his voice and tried to squirm free, wiggling and wriggling against his hold. This proximity was creating weird sensations in my body. He patted my head. Now go wait for me in the parking lot. No funny games. I have something to discuss with our friend here. He nodded at Dylan, who was wearing a wide smirk. No need to be given the opportunity twice. I hightailed it out of there, moving out of the classroom as fast as my feet will let me. That was so intense. I halted in the hallway. What did he mean by I should wait for him in the parking lot? Like I'm some dog to be commanded? I scoffed and headed out for my next class.